Okay, welcome back. You've stumbled onto LSTV. I am Lance Sisney. Thank you for joining me again. I'd like to start off by thanking the few of you who continue to return to this madness. I don't know who enjoys making it or listening to it more, but I appreciate any time that you have to spend delving into that which most people dare not to entertain. Some stuff going on right now I don't think a lot of people have a idea about right now is the connection between the immigration and the real estate scam, the banking scam that's been controlling our country and our banking system for quite a while now. But I think if you sat around and thought about it for a minute, you might actually see it's not too hard. I go to some of our more popular sources for evidence about this. We'll start off with the New York Times, who most people will say is, a reputable organization, and others will say is completely full of it. But it's hard to get away with reporting complete falseness if you're as big as the New York Times. However, what they do report, there's always a hint of truth too. The reporting that I'm talking about is about the ever increasing amount of corporate investment into private home buying, forcing people into the rental market. Well, why this seems like such a big deal? Because, building a home and building wealth has always been part of the American dream. And if there are corporate interests involved in actively making it more or less likely for people to be able to obtain home ownership, then they are actively working against the private citizens from securing their own personal wealth. So we'll look at CNBC next. Uh, Another report. This is all over the place. Wall Street has purchased hundreds of thousands of single family homes since the Great Recession. Here's what this means for the rental prices. See, this is not a event that is not widely known, or it is widely known that the banks are buying up houses in order to be used as rentals. And we think, well, that's just the economy, right? That's just the way it is, and people can't afford to buy their homes, so the banks are forced to buy these homes, and the only way the people can survive is by renting them. Well, who's renting these homes? I mean, I know a lot of Americans are forced into home rentals these days, and I know a lot of Americans whose families have lived here for a long time are forced to live in, multi-family homes these days because of the cost of living. But, there's another group of people that's coming over here looking for homes. People from other countries, not people born here in America, people coming here to live here who see our, the U.S. as the place that they would like to establish their residence. Well, the problem is when they receive federal assistance to get those residences versus the people who've lived here and paid to be part of the American dream, making it harder for them to achieve that. If we go into this article a little bit of ways down, uh, it gets into it's freezing up on me right now, which it's always the concern when I start making videos. They know I'm here to try to make a point, but I'll try to wait for this thing to catch up right now. Hopefully it will. Uh, I was going to continue with uh, providing a link to what is not often talked about, but is sometimes it's well known in many circles that the real estate market is where a lot of money laundering occurs. So I think I'll be able to pull that link up now, possibly. Oh, no, I'm getting there. Still frozen on me. But I do have a link to a security company, I think, type of advertising website where they talk about where real estate is where money laundering is quite a bit of a problem. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to tie some actions together. We got government organizations like BlackRock invested in buying properties to use as rentals. We also have what is considered a democratically elected body suggesting that allowing immigration in whatever way it has to be done is part of a humanitarian rights need. So we're, not only allowing, but we're actually promoting multiple amounts of people. And now some of these could be double counted. We don't know. We don't actually get the best reporting these days, I don't think. So we have multiple people moving to the U.S. from other countries, establishing their residences in rental properties owned by corporations that lobby our government, who in turn get subsidies uh, from the government to house these people who are immigrating. And I think that may be something of a real estate scam. I think we might, if we dig into it, they would say because they're democratically elected representatives that create these policy changes that we voted for it. But I believe if it was framed in such a way, the vote would have gone much differently. And which is one time, I mean, for a long time, so I've been a complaint of mine about the voting processes, the wording of the bills. They're just almost indecipherable to the normal person who's just gone to, let's say public education. You know, they only teach you so much. So in order to gain a good understanding, you either have to trust your representative, who's most likely lying to you, or you have to hire somebody to decipher these legal terms to you, and that costs money. So the access to justice is almost definitely determined by how much money you have. But and if you don't believe that this could really be happening, I think we don't have to look very far into the and I'll post all these links so you can look into the same type of things that I was looking up to thinking maybe I might not just be making this up. But sometimes we forget that at one point in time, there was an adoption system scam where children were being shipped around the nation and multiple states were paying for the housing of foster children who weren't actually living in these homes. And if we apply this thinking to the immigration subsidy thinking, well, it just makes it more realistic that this could actually be going on. And I mean, it's nuts. It's insane. It's almost like could we believe this really could be the way it is? It almost seems like yes, this has got to be some crazy sort of computer experiment. Like, can we live in the Matrix? And this question resurfaces from time to time. And I think the last time I talked about it, I said that the physics reporting from an MIT study said that there's not enough elemental matter in our known universe to comprise the processors that we would need to compute such a construct artificially. But the new reporting from USA Today, if you want to call this reporting, and more like opinions every day, but if we look in if you look into this article, which I did read, and I don't want to read the whole thing to you because I think you can read for yourself, but ultimately read it for yourself. In there it says that the reason why we could the new um, decision or the new theory is that we could be living in a computer construct is because of technology that we do not know of, that does not yet exist. So because of something that is not evidence-based reasoning, we could make an evidence-based decision that this particular uh, possibility exists because of technology that we know does not exist. And I think that is the ultimate um, example of horse swallow hyperbole, uh, BS. I don't even want to use a negative term because it ain't even worth notating how ridiculous that claim really is. So, um, you know, let this thing catch up to me for a second. I guess I was gonna go off on a statement about how, of course, anything could possibly exist without the technology or without the knowledge of knowing that it exists right now. Yes, it doesn't exist. I mean, we don't have to worry about it as a security threat, but we do have to worry about it as a security threat because one thing might exist that we don't know if it exists. So therefore, we have to treat it as it really does exist because we know it does not exist. I'm just trying to keep up with it. I'm just trying to keep up with what's going on. It's really hard to believe that people are actually going to expect me. People are going to expect people like me to keep up with that kind of thinking because I'm not far from I don't need to be driven crazy. I could take a walk across the street from me, and they think that I need this much excitement to drive me over the edge. I'm almost there. It seems like, but the technology that I'm trying to get to that they're hinting at, they're not hinting at, they say it exists, but it doesn't exist. But if you look into it and it really does exist, is this, you know, we got stuff that there's no way that we thought this would ever. I mean, we did, but we didn't, I think. But like, I think the idea that it existing is really the scary part because we don't need missiles to shoot down missiles no more. We don't have no, and which is good, we don't have to worry about missiles no more. Now we got lasers. Now we got a laser missile tracking system. It's called the Iron Beam. You look out on my Twitter page here. It's a cool little video about it. I'm not gonna play it for you really. I guess I should, but nah, I'm gonna let you look at it because I run a little long when I play all these clips, and I mean you can see what's playing here. It's a good advertisement about it. But here's what I was saying about those lasers. Did my comment come in here? Where's my comment? Oh, oh, yeah, I did put my comment. I did. Look, I said two problems. We got satellites, and if you don't believe it or not, what if there are aliens? Okay, we're shooting lasers off in outer space. We're gonna start hitting satellites. What if we end up hitting an alien spaceship somewhere out there because that laser just keeps on flying through space and hits an alien spaceship? You don't think they're gonna come over here pissed? I mean, it's just a possibility. That's the reason why we don't do stupid stuff like this. That's why the reason of launching bombs and wars against people is devastating and stupid because people will start going crazy, shooting lasers off into outer space. You're about to start an intergalactic war, people. You don't even know. You're playing around with fire that you can't even put out. We don't have a fire truck big enough to put that fire out. Them aliens will come and just destroy us because, like, oh, you shot down one of our starships cruising on with our princess on it. Oh, screw Earth. Y'all are dead. Bam. But no, we want to play with missiles. Woohoo! Yeah, I know I sound crazy, but the satellite part is real. All right, we got satellites up in outer space, they're flying around, and it's look, they're telling us about it. They're starting to talk about it now that we got this missile laser defense system up and operational over in Israel. The FAA warning us that falling satellites are gonna start killing people. Oh no! They couldn't have not have ever thought that they had this to sell to one side and they had this to sell to the other side. There's no way they could have known that was going to be a problem, did they? Well, wait a second. Hold on. You would think they wouldn't have had any idea about it, but there was already insurance involved. We already got insurance policies involved in these things. We got space insurers bracing for more claims after propulsion trouble on 4 GEO satellites. Oh, it's the propulsion trouble that's they're worried about right now. It's not the wars and the space lasers and all that stuff. No, they're worried about the hardware breaking down. They're going to pass it off on the manufacturers, try to get a warranty and a recall on the hardware because they decided to implement a system that they didn't know they was going to want to start shooting down or could be hit up in some space lasers. No, 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 no. And they built both sides of the system. I mean, I don't think we remember who we're dealing with, people. I think we're dealing with normal people. And just hold on a second, y'all. I'm gonna at least get this one part up here for you to read. I gotta go let my little dog in. I'm gonna have her out there barking. But mommy, mommy, okay, mommy ain't hearing me, so I gotta go open the door for doggy. Y'all hang on for just a second. I don't want to stop the video, so hold on. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. It's here. So, yeah. All right. I mean, if you started reading this little piece I left up over here, it's the video. I think I am gonna play this video for you. This is probably one of the only videos that I'm gonna play for a while, but I think it's worth hearing what this girl has to say. So I think y'all need to pay attention real quick, and let's see if we can get this.
I want to describe you, the people of the world, what's been going on now in Israel. I want to describe you, the life of a non-vaccinated people, a person in Israel today. So we are the people in Israel feel that one day, we woke up to a nightmare. Our life has been destroyed. We woke up to a nightmare which we have been kidnapped by our own government and which sold us to be a guinea pigs to an experimental vaccine that they want us to, they want us to donate, to give up our bodies and our souls with no questions. We have become the biggest clinical trial of a vaccine in history in a scale of entire country. Imagine that. Usually, when you volunteer to an experiment, you have the right to say.
Listen to what she said, though. They were the biggest controlled experimental group in history. Up until just recently, now that their population seemingly sort of out of nowhere on some anniversary of whatever, that they had no way to predict that there was anything that was going to happen on that date. Now the control group experiment has been polluted. Some of the only reliable, verifiable COVID vaccine data from the country of Israel is now destroyed because of a terrorist attack. Hmm, dang it. And, you know, we Americans are just buying it up like, hey, it's part of an economy or something. But whose economy? And how does this economy work? And I think a little piece of information I stumbled across over here the other day I thought was kind of interesting that, does go into the darker side of the conspiracy realm and everything. But, this guy, he been popping up a lot on me, this guy Wyatt. He calls himself a conspiracy theorist. He's pretty entertaining if you ask me. But he brought up this point that a man named Robert Maxwell, whose name pops up here more and more lately in the future, was um, a mega dealer for the Rothschilds. This is, I guess, back in maybe the 80s or something. It was something about textbooks, and I looked into it a little bit, and look, dang it, here we go again. New York Times confirms it. McGraw-Hill, textbook manufacturer, responsible for the education of America's youth. Textbooks that the schools are forced to buy every year, that they don't have a choice, that they have to renew the textbooks every year. This thing where they gotta, the words from the book last year don't make sense anymore. They have to buy another textbook every year because that's how information works, as it changes that fast every year. We don't want to just, add a couple extra little pamphlets or anything. No, we print new textbooks, but that's just a whole nother industry I don't even want to get into right now. You know, McGraw-Hill and Maxwell do form a venture. This is an article back in 1989. You can look at it. It'll be down in my links. You can search all this information up for yourself. I don't need to read it to you. You're smart enough. You can figure it out. And of course, immediately you look into it, there's going to be a fact check from the USA Today saying, oh, no, 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 no. Way, way, way. That was way, way, way back when. And now, if you read the fact check from the USA Today, The reason they can determine that there is actual no credibility to that story, that there's the connection between Israel, the Maxwell family, and the American textbook printing company, is because it told the USA it has no current ties to the Maxwell family. That means, it divested itself of any financial interest many, many years ago. And therefore, because of that financial transaction, there's actually no connection between the two at all. That's what they said. And that means it's true, right? Because that's, of course, why would they say it if it's not true? And you would think, well, what's the point? Why would they want to indoctrinate American youth to be so stupid that they can't figure out anything for themselves, and they would just let the banking system run amok on them? Because, this could end up in something like this. They wouldn't do that intentionally, because this kind of thing could have actually, this could happen, and we can make sure that this never, never happens. Where we got this story out of Houston, Texas. A From NBC, of course. It's got to be reputable. It's NBC. You can't argue with them. Um, a death row inmate loses a lawsuit after he said the execution drugs were damaged in a fire. Now, if this doesn't make any sense to you, I'm going to read the first part about it so it does make sense to you, okay? A federal judge on Friday denied a request to stop the execution of a Texas inmate who had alleged in a lawsuit that the drugs he was to be injected with next week were exposed to extreme heat and smoke during a recent fire, making them unsafe. We wouldn't want people to be so uneducated to think that lethal injection drugs were actually meant to be safe. But they spent some money on the lawyers to talk about it. I mean, that judge got paid that day. Them lawyers got paid that day. They charge the system. They spent their they got their fee that day to go and talk about how lethal injection drugs might be unsafe. Like I said, people, we shouldn't fall for all this stuff because we're leading us down a dark road. And you know what the dark road is that we're leading us down? I'm gonna tell you right now the dark road that they're leading us down right now. And I think this is coming to the end of it right now. So I want to thank everybody for joining me today and listening to all this crazy stuff I had to say. But I got a warning for you. I got something I think you all need to be really prepared for, and a little bit scared about what's gonna happen because um, everybody gets into arguments sometimes here and then. I think we all are somewhat familiar with the feeling of anger, and I don't particularly enjoy it myself. So I try to look into the chemical nature of it and try to understand what is the chemical nature of anger. And I got a couple of links down here that, you know, I, I'll explain it real quick. Is Anger is measured by it's a hormone. Well, I'm gonna look it up now because I don't. It's not epinephrine. It's adrenaline. Is it epinephrine? Am I right about that? Anger has a chemical measurement in the body, and there's like three different chemical analyses of it. I think. Um, yeah, it is epinephrine. Okay, sorry. The chemical compounds on the hormone that's excreted when you're angry is epinephrine. Okay, so And in order to be able to regulate epinephrine in your system, your body needs healthy levels of serotonin. Serotonin, I think we are familiar with, is something that goes on when you're asleep. So rest, the body while it's at rest helps encourage the development of serotonin. But there's another natural way of the human body of synthesizing uh, serotonin in order to maintain its balance of epinephrine is through the intake of um, it's what the it's in the turkey on Thanksgiving. It's with a T, dang it, but it has to do with eating animal byproduct, animal fat. Okay. So, in order to regulate our anger and our mood and our frustration, I mean, of course, exercise is always promoted as the number one remedy, but it's not. I guess I just wish I could remember. It starts with a T. It's cert- okay. Well, here we go. This is what I was gonna jump to. Okay, these foods help you maintain a healthy level of serotonin to fight the epinephrine, and it is animal protein: turkey, chicken, fish, eggs, milk. We have soy and nuts. Okay, they tryptophan. Tryptophan. That's the one I was thinking of. Tryptophan is the amino that helps you develop serotonin digestively to help you regulate your mental ability to deal with the epinephrine, the fear and the anxiety. So I started thinking, in the recent years, this push towards veganism and excuse me, plant-based diets is going to reduce the tryptophan in our diets, and people are going to start making decisions because they're angry and they're hungry, and they're going to start being under the influence of hunger and anxiety and aggression and aggressive feelings the whole time because they don't have a healthy amount of tryptophan in their system to calm them down. And it's not like this is a new thing, but I think it's hilarious, and this is probably what I'm going to leave you with right now. This is I believe this was back in 2011. It took, I think it was a Harvard study. Let me just shoot this over here. Serotonin levels affect the brain's response to anger. I mean, essentially, Britain's Cambridge University, okay? It took scientists at Britain's Cambridge University to determine that when you don't get enough sleep and you don't eat a good healthy diet, that you get angry and you get hangry and you get aggressive and you act like an asshole and you don't make good decisions. I don't think we needed if we need if human beings needed a college study to tell them that, we may be headed for dark days, people. So stock up on supplies, but love one another, hug your family, be good to your friends and your wife and your children, and good night.